right, good afternoon. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied, and today I'm really thrilled and pleased to have with me as my repeat guest, Mike Halloran, who's one of the founding partners of Halloran Farkas and Catilla. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Richard, very much. Good to see you.
Now, Mike, the last time we spoke, you had just started your firm. And just to kind of remind my audience, let me just start by asking you, look, you were a partner at Pillsbury for several decades. You were counselor to the chair at the SEC. You were the group vice president, general counsel of Bank of America. Most people would say there's no more hills to climb. There's nothing more to do. And you decided to start your own law firm. Why would you want to do that?
Well, first of all, I think what I do is fun. And if it's fun, keep doing it. And I mean, we represent startups, developing stage companies. People even follow our legal advice, and so it's fun to grow with those companies and so forth. And and the second reason is that our firm does represent a lot of startup and developing stage companies. And I finally said, why don't I do it myself? Why don't I do a startup? So I did.
Well, tell me what it's been like so far. Has it been, all smooth roses? You started right before the pandemic. Tell me a little bit how it's grown since you started it.
Well, we had 3 years to grow. We were founded on January 1, 2017. We had 3 years to grow before the pandemic hit.
Okay.
It's been a wonderful experience. My partners are very amiable, shall we say. We get along, we have a lot of fun. And our law firm is structured in a way that produces friendship and, closeness and loyalty and collegiality and those kinds of things. It's structured that way. And, we structured our firm intentionally so it was not really structured like a big law firm. I can go into that if you want, but
well, tell me a little bit about. Tell me a little bit of your clients. Are you working with almost all startups? What kind of startups? Where are these startups? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we have startups and developing stage companies, and we have venture funds too, in Silicon Valley and in Wyoming, where I'm sitting right now, because we do have a Jackson Hole office, and back east, where we have partners in Miami, where I have an important corporate partner, Mark Hobson, and in New York, where I have Linda Lerner, who's our crypto asset queen and also a broker-dealer regulatory queen. And she's nationwide known in those areas. And but in addition, we have a Delaware presence, a big Delaware presence. We're probably one of the only small firms with a Delaware contingent that sits there in Wilmington, Delaware, and does shareholder litigation, dispute resolution. As you know, most corporations, not all, but most corporations and LLCs are formed in Delaware. So we are highly qualified in that area. So we represent a lot of companies and management and shareholders in corporate litigation in Delaware very successfully, I may add. And then sometimes when it occurs out of Delaware, they are then admitted pro hoc vice in another state and do it there. So it's a lot of fun to see their victories and sometimes their losses. This isn't a perfect world. So that's what we do.
Interesting. And you said you're having a lot of fun doing it? You're really enjoying it?
I think it's fun. And I hope we all think it's fun. And I think unlike what you see in some big firms, people don't hold business close to their vest, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
We're not afraid of spreading out the business to the other partners of the firm, because it's partly because the way we set up the compensation system, it's completely fair, completely democratic, so to speak. And so we all work together as a true team. It's not a competitive society, shall we say. And everybody, well, I guess to be with our firm, you have to have the ability to bring in business. Okay, I mean, if you aren't a business getter, you might not be happy here, because you got to have enough business to just pay the expenses of being a partner of a partnership, which isn't much, frankly, but you got to have that. But beyond that, you can lateral out business to other people to help you on. Like, for example, I'm not a crypto expert myself, but Linda is. I'm not a trademark and copyright expert, but Mark is. I'm not a litigator, but Ted Kittle and those guys are. So we work closely together on clients, and it's just plain fun.
Now, what about your book, Venture Capital and Public Offering Negotiations? You've been the editor of that for decades. Are you still working on that?
Yes, very avidly. We first published the book in 1981. The firm had actually sent me to DC, and we actually decided to do a venture capital program on forming a venture fund. By the way, we do a lot of fund formation here.
Oh, okay.
Doing the portfolio investments of the fund, we do a lot of that here. And the initial public offering for the portfolio companies. And that book has been in publication since 1981. What would that be? Would that be 42 years, something like that?
Yeah.
And every year it's updated. And there's a whole collection of Silicon Valley lawyers and so forth who contribute to that book every year. And I'm the chief editor. I write stuff in there myself. I edit. I don't let anything go in unless it's really first class. I'm a very diligent, hard editor. And now I have people in my own firm, Mark Hobson, for example, writing and editing the book. But I've got very recognized Silicon Valley types. And also for the fund work, I've got some leading fund firms like Kramer Levin now working on the fund chapters. So yes, every year. And the important thing is I learn something. I learn a lot every year as those updates come through. And secondly, we use it to train our younger lawyers.
I see.
That's what we do.
Aren't a lot of those things now online? Is a book necessary anymore? I mean, that's the thing that I was thinking about.
Well, like the NVCA, let's take that for example. The National Venture Capital Association has, the agreements online,
right?
Which the subscription agreement, and then Y Combinator has its safe form and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
There's a problem with those forms. They're investor friendly. Just so you know, they're written by investors, they're investor friendly. And, that's why you need a venture capital book like ours, which is called Venture Capital and Public Offering Negotiation, which shows you the other side of the table, namely the company, the entrepreneurs, and gives you alternatives to the NVCA forms and things like that, which are very valuable.
So what are your future plans for Halloran Farkas? You've got offices, sounds like, are you planning to grow more, be bigger in more offices, or do you like the size that you're currently at? What are your future plans? I know you're a young man, Mike.
We definitely plan to grow more. We just brought in a new partner on November 1st.
Okay.
In Delaware. And we plan to grow. I mean, how big? Not as big as Big Law. I think maybe 30 or 40 would be our appetite, but we need to develop more expertises. We have a tax lawyer in our firm, but we need another one, frankly. And we don't have a patent lawyer. We use an outside patent lawyer by referral, a guy named Larry Harbin. We need patent lawyers in our firm to do that. So we need to spread our wings and bring in more disciplines.
Will you ever retire?
Have you been talking to my wife? My loyal wife of many years, Gigi, who I met at Berkeley. I was in the second year of law school and she was a senior. I married her in September of my senior year in law school. That was 11 months later. So I'm a closer. She said later, she says, I didn't realize what a workaholic you were. And we've got 3 kids and 6 grandkids and all that kind of stuff. And she says to me, why don't you retire? And I said, because I'm having fun. And I really am having fun. And I love these companies, and we grow with them and grow up with them and that kind of stuff. And so if it isn't fun, don't do it. But it is fun. And that's what I tell her. And she tolerates me as she's tolerated me for many years.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of lawyers on this show, and I can always tell when somebody really loves what they do, and you're the quintessential person for that, Mike. So it's great to hear how it's going, and I congratulate you on all the success of your firm.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
This is Richard Hsu and Mike Halloran. Thanks.